welcome to OUS Today, a program created by electronic media students here at Ohio University Southern, and I'm your host, Brian McGlone. Today we're going to speak about different EM students that have come back to say hi to us. One in particular here is Josh McComas.
Thanks for having me. This is a great pleasure.
Great. And what brings you back here?
Well, I love this program so much that a friend of mine is going through the program and said that this was something that you guys were working on and had an interest in me coming and talking about my experience here and my thoughts on the program. And so I was like, yeah, I'm in, man.
All right, and we have two of your former classmates as well.
That's awesome.
And we're going to go ahead and cut to that clip, and it's Brad Bear and Alan Brown.
So I've known that I wanted to do filmmaking and television since I was probably 8 years old. And so growing up in this area, there weren't many options in terms of what do you do after high school. And so in high school, I got really into music recording and things like that. Thought I was going to go that direction with my career. And I visited the Southern campus when the EM program was kind of in the building in the parking lot. And then, but at the time they were transitioning into the third floor where they are now.
So it's kind of all overwhelming at first. The OUS, the whole media program, man, I mean, it's kind of just, you walk in, you're like, holy cow, there's actually a ton of stuff to get your hands on. And so that's probably like your initial feeling is like, look at all this stuff. And it's cool to see that over time it's kind of grown and continued to add more to it. But I think that was probably my first impression. You know, I heard about the program and talked to Don a little bit and just started getting into it. And then you realize, man, there's just a lot that you get to do. There's so much to get your hands on here. And it's kind of overwhelming, but you also get excited to start because what does this do? What does this do? Yeah.
2 weeks before the fall semester started, I went to just check it out. I was like, I'm just going to, I literally just drove up. It was like 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon in the middle of the day, or in the middle of the week, and the building was open. So I just walked in and I thought I was going to go talk to somebody in EM. No one was there. So I just walked the halls and checked out, and it was like the cameras smelled new, like it was that new. Paint was new, everything was new. And I was like, oh, damn it, because I'm gonna have to kill my full ride scholarship because this is where I need to be. I'm passionate about sharing things that I find interesting. It just so happens that media is a great vehicle for that. So if I find something interesting, I can dive deep into it because my interests change like the wind. And so, but I can dive deep into it, learn as much as I can, create something out of it, share it with the world and move on to my next interest. So media is a vehicle for me to really get into what I'm passionate about. And it's a vehicle that's so broad. So a lot of people will think, say electronic media, for instance, you know, you'll think a news job or a cameraman or editing or whatever like that. But if you think of it in terms of a vehicle to communicate what's interesting to you, suddenly the world opens up. So you can share, so suddenly you're not just a cameraman, you're a human being that is sharing their life experiences with the world.
I think after graduation, I was pretty confident with everything that I needed because I was already working with people from WSAZ and doing a lot of freelance work, and I'd already gotten my feet pretty wet outside of college. And so it was kind of like, okay, where do I go now? Like I was already kind of starting at WSAZ where I work now, but also I just had worked with Brad Bear and worked with so many different people over time here that I felt like I had a pretty well-rounded approach to everything. I mean, it was just, I feel like at that point, what do I want to do was my next question. It wasn't, am I prepared enough? It was, well, what do I do now? Like, well, there's so many things available. So that was kind of, after I graduated, I felt, you know, that was my next question. What do I do now? I'm employed by WSAZ. I've been there for almost 5 years now. I think it's going to be 5 years at the end of this year, end of 2018. And so my title is a technical media producer. I'd go to work at 4:15 in the morning, which is insane sometimes, but it works out. And I direct the 6 a.m. show and the midday news. There's also, it's kind of a two-part job because you have the director's responsibility, but you also have like the master control duties. So, for example, Wheel of Fortune comes down at like 7 p.m. from a certain provider that we have to download, transcode, get into our system, and get it to where it'll play back at a certain time. So if you take that, basically any kind of media that runs for people at home, it has to go through our hands first, whether it's commercial or show or any kind of form of media like that. I mean, we have to make sure that it's in the right place at the right time, in the right format, and that kind of thing. So it's kind of a layered job, but primarily I'm a director and a master control operator. But between all that, I mean, you stay pretty busy. It's a pretty structured day, but that's probably my day-to-day.
I was recently seeing something Jim Carrey addressed a graduating class, and I think he said it most perfectly, was you can fail at something you don't love. So why not take a chance on yourself and potentially fail in something that you do love? You know, it's literally that simple.
I mean, everyone's got something that makes themselves tick, and I think that when you can grab a hold of that, it's awesome to see people that you know that they're doing what they're meant to do. And I think when someone can finally dig into that and finally grab a hold of what they're supposed to do or what kind of grabs them and makes them tick, I mean, the sky's the limit at that. That's like turning the key at that point. So I encourage people, try everything and find what you love and then go for it. I mean, we get to be on this earth one time. Let's be happy doing it and then go for that passion if you've got one.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And we're back here with OUS Today, and I'm still here with Josh McComas. So Josh, what was your first impressions as far as the electronic media department here?
You know, what's crazy is that everyone always asks, like, how did you do what you do now? Mm-hmm. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So we came here on a high school tour, visiting with our guidance counselor, came up here, saw the third floor, and immediately it was like, I've got to do that. I've got to be a part of that. It just spoke like, that's what I want to do. And so when we came up here, Don was here, and all those, Brian, all those guys were up here, and Dave, and they just gave us the equipment right off the bat. I don't know of any other place that would trust me, a kid right out of high school, to come in here with tens of thousands of dollars of equipment and say, go play, go see what you can create. So my impression off the bat was just amazement. I was instant, like I was interested. That really sealed the deal for me. And being able to be out there and find out that I could create something, that I could do something and have fun while I was doing it was amazing to me. So I was in from the beginning, man.
Did seeing those two guys on the video bring back any memories?
Yeah, man. And not only memories, but like the cool part is that those guys went to school here. I went to school here. I'm still really good friends with those guys. I work with Brad on a regular basis. I worked with Alan at WSAZ. I still work with him through music stuff because I do a lot of music video production. He's in an amazing band called The Dividends, and we shoot their live shows. We shoot music videos for them. Like we became very good friends. All of us did, and it's really crazy to think that it all ties back to this university.
Right. Like upon graduation, did you three ever talk about what type of jobs you could get, or were you all competing for jobs? Or?
No, that's the thing, man. There's an abundance of jobs in this market. People think, they hear our area is the last in everything, economically depressed. Oh, this is, I can't. There's a lot of jobs out there. There's a lot of work. I mean, everyone these days, social media is so abundant, and everybody needs video content. It's easy now. Back then, we were working jobs all the way through school. Like, I worked at WSAZ while, I got a job here my second quarter. So the whole time I was in school, I was working at WSAZ. Brad was actually working here at the time I was at the school. And so he was already working in the field. And Alan was kind of on the back end of my, time. So, just nobody was really competing, and we still never compete. We all know that there is a sort of smaller community of creative people in our area, and so we all work to lift each other up and help each other out, loan gear to each other. If somebody needs help on a shoot, we're there, because if we're not doing it for each other, nobody will. And so I think that also kind of just ties back to that community, this production community. When you're on a set, when you're on a show, everyone has to be a piece that's in, like, we're all integral pieces, and if we don't work together really well, then it falls apart, right? The show would just fall apart. So that kind of relationship that we have built over the time, there was never a competition. It was always a lifting each other up and helping each other out kind of a deal.
So when you started at WSAZ, I know I've met a lot of the reporters, anchors. They all seem like great people. What was your experience?
Man, I loved it. I felt like the coolest kid on the block. Like, I had a alphanumeric pager I carried. I had a camera. I had a car of my own. I could go anywhere and do anything. And like, when I showed up, it said WSAZ on the car. Everyone wanted to welcome me in. I worked for Channel 3, and so I just felt like the coolest kid, and getting to experience some of the really great things that I got to experience were sort of offset at times because of the way news is. Like, there's some really bad things I had to see, but that news family, I did news at both WSAZ and WOWK for a combined like 10, 12 years. So like those people were my family. Like, we worked odd hours, long hours, stressful hours, and it was cool because the moment that I started working there, things have changed a lot. We had tape machines, and we had to edit tape to tape and run the tapes from tape machines during like, nothing was digital playback. It was very different. So there was a lot more people in the mix. But it was fun, man. And like, nobody made you feel like you were at work, and we were all stressed, but it was so much fun, and it was such a tight-knit family. And like, that's what kept me going, because like, I've never been surrounded by such a group of people that were very serious and trustworthy individuals, but just also were so carefree and loving and fun. Right. It really was a great experience.
So have you left news for good to start your own?
I did. I left officially 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago, and I've been running full-time my own business, Montani Films. But I was doing freelance work the whole time I was working at the station, whether it be for ESPN or for any number of other like people that are friends of mine that have production companies and things like that. So I would be working full-time at the station, and then like I was saying, I worked from 3 a.m. to 1 p.m. And so I had a full day of time I could go out and shoot something, or on the weekends go and shoot a Marshall game or whatever. So it was a natural progression that as time went on and my experience became more and more, that it was easy to transition from working for somebody else to then working for myself and building a client base and doing all those things. I still do a lot of freelance work for other friends, like Brad. I work for Brad on occasion, and because there's a ton of work to do out there.
So what's it like, I guess, not knowing who your next client's going to be and having to go out and how do you show them, I guess? Do you take a portfolio and say, this is what I do, this is what I've created?
Luckily it has changed a lot. I used to have to do that. Like, I was out there cold calling and pitching and showing up at a business and dropping off information. But what it ended up being is that our name grew and grew and grew, and people would see more and more what we were doing. And so then the calls would be coming to us rather than us making the calls. So the majority of my clients, honestly, I would say all of my clients are people that come to us and say, hey, we have this project. Can we talk? And then that starts with a phone call with them, and we find out what they're looking for and try to tell that story of whatever they need to accomplish, whatever they want their clients to know, whatever they want their customers to know. We just try to tell that story for them and help them get it out there.
All right. What aspect of video production do you like the best?
I like, there's two parts of it, but both are tied together. I like just being on set. I like the camaraderie. I like showing up to a place, it's an empty room, we have to do something there and creating that. Okay. That part is really fun, just seeing it all come. I like that instant gratification of seeing it all built. And then I also just really like setting a frame, whatever that frame happens to be, like just really building out the way it looks, the way we light it, and how things can drastically change with just dimming a light and adding a little bit more drama to it, and then just seeing what the reaction is, which is always typically very good, and so I appreciate that.
If you could give me in about 30 seconds or less what it means to pursue your passion and actually achieve that.
Yeah, man, it means a lot, and that's hard 30 seconds because I could talk to you this whole show about that. But just having the opportunity to work hard, be passionate about that, and really go after it, knowing it's going to be tough at times. There's times where, like you said, I don't know where my next client is. I don't know if I'm going to get a phone call. But I know that if I work hard enough, it's going to work out. And so my goal is to make sure that we keep doing that.
All right, Josh, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me. What a pleasure.
And we'll be back in a few minutes. Hello, and we are back on OUS Today, and I have with us Admissions Advisor Aretha Murray. How are you doing today, Aretha?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I got a few questions for you.
All right.
If you could give us a brief overview of your mission as Admissions Advisor for OUS.
I think saying what an admissions advisor is probably helpful.
Great.
A lot of people would consider it a recruiter. So, but because what I'm doing is advising them on how to get admitted, so how to get in the door and things like that. So my mission here for the Southern campus is to tell the tri-state, that one, this gym is back here in Ironton. A lot of people don't know that there are these resources and that there's a college back here where you can get an associate's and a bachelor's degree, if you wanted to move forward. So that's my goal. My mission is to go out and tell people, hey, we're out here, we're affordable, we can help.
So you go out to the community, to schools?
Right.
Tell me about that.
I go to high schools. I serve 27 schools in our local tri-state area, so we hit West Virginia and Kentucky as well. So we go to the high schools, but we also go to the community. There's a lot of non-traditional students that want to come to school. I was a non-traditional student myself, so I realize how important that is, and so I just try to get out and tell people.
So how long have you worked here?
I am almost been here 3 years.
Yeah.
So.
And what's your favorite part? What do you love? What makes you come here every day?
So I can tell you my absolute favorite thing is when I go and I've helped somebody, maybe I've been to AK Union Hall, when they got laid off and was working with some students and helped them get in the door. When I'm helping a high school student or a first generation student, I've helped them, get in the door. But my very favorite thing is when I see them walk across the stage. So I've watched them go from me just meeting them and then telling them about the school, and then when they go to graduation, that is absolutely rewarding.
So when they come up and they ask what courses can they take or what degrees are available, like how many are there?
So here at the Southern campus, there are over 30 degree programs that you can start and finish. So that's associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, you can combine, do a couple of different things. And then there's also, you can start over 250 programs. If you wanted to start and transfer, of course, you could go to Athens, and there's a lot of things. But right here on the Ironton campus, over 30 things to choose from.
What seems to be the most popular degrees?
I would say nursing. A lot of people, there's a market for nursing, in the area, in the medical field in general. But so nursing is probably the number one. I'd say education is number two. Criminal justice is up there. There's a lot of things that we offer that are in high demand. Social work. There's so many jobs in this area for that.
So would you say there's an advantage to a regional campus?
Absolutely.
And what is
I can
that?
tell you lots of advantages. So a few things that I usually tell people when I go out is that starting with a regional campus, even if you just start with us for 2 years, you generally save about $25,000 in 2 years, right? Because that's an estimate, but you're not paying room and board and meal plans and elevated tuition, and so there's a lot of things. Plus, when you're getting started and you start with a regional and you're still having a support system, or you've got a small campus and small classrooms, and your teachers know who you are. A lot of times, you might go to a large university and be in a lecture hall with a couple hundred students. And not only are you with a couple hundred students, and it's hard to get that one-on-one help, sometimes you have a teaching assistant that is teaching you, and here you actually have a professor that has a master's or a doctorate in that field, so it's an expert in that field. And so there are many things about a regional campus that are great.
And I don't think this is part of your field, but what do you know, like students, there's obstacles in paying for these, and
Right.
what type of advice do you give them?
Right. So paying for, I can tell them all day long what great things we have here, but if they can't pay for it, that makes it tough.
Right.
And that is one of the biggest challenges. So there are a lot of resources that are available. The biggest thing that people use is financial aid, and doing their FAFSA and things like that. There are scholarships, there's work study programs, there's student employment opportunities, there's loans, and then there's also we have payment plans, so like if somebody had a balance, they can break that up into 3 payments and maybe try to help them so that they have less debt. But there are usually ways to help somebody get in the door.
And you mentioned FAFSA. How important is that to fill that out early, or Can you do it the day before school starts?
No. So you cannot do it the day before. You can do it, but you're not going to receive your money for 2 or 3 weeks. That's if you qualify and everything went smoothly. So doing the FAFSA and doing it early is vital. You know, even if somebody doesn't qualify for a Pell Grant or something like that, it might help them with their loans, or there are many, many scholarships that are out there that require that you have a FAFSA on file. So you need to do the FAFSA, and it's free. I mean, like, you know, why not do it? Check it out and see what there is.
And what does FAFSA mean?
Federal aid for students. That is not my field. Yeah, no. It's free student aid, free federal student aid. So, but you can go to the FAFSA.gov. So that is a federal program that is there to try to help finance.
And are there other opportunities, I guess, for students to obtain scholarships?
Yeah. So we have offered last year, I think, over $500,000 in scholarships, and that would be merit-based, donor-based. There are many different things that we offer. You can actually go to our website and find the different options that are available, and it's under financial aid and scholarships listed there. A lot of the scholarships are renewable. You know, some are automatically renewable, and then sometimes, you know, somebody may come their freshman year and didn't get something, but their sophomore year they could qualify. So there are just a lot of opportunities for that. Also, you can combine those with financial aid. A lot of scholarships are stackable, which means that you can use, you know, maybe you get a merit scholarship here, but you get a scholarship also from food fair or something like that, and you can put those together and help pay your balance.
So different businesses around the area offer scholarships.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Okay, we have compiled a list of questions from students.
Okay.
So we're going to hit you with some of those.
Okay.
It says, this one goes back to FAFSA. Do I have to file a new FAFSA application every year?
Yes, you do. So the FAFSA is open on October 1st, and I will say that earlier that you file, usually the more money that you would qualify for. So if you qualify for funding, then if you apply early, you could get something like a regional campus grant. Also, the federal work study is through the financial aid, and you do have to file every year.
Okay. The next question from a student. If my income or my parents' income changes, do you know the modifications that income change can I adjust my FAFSA application?
Can you as a student adjust it?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
But what you can do, so you can't go to the FAFSA website and adjust your income. And like I was talking about the AK workers, you know, being laid off, their income is much different, or the child of a parent who, you know, was laid off. The income is much different. So what they would do is they'd stop by the advising center, or they could call, and we would do something called a change of income form, and then we could do that. So it doesn't mean that it can't be fixed, but you can't just go on FAFSA and modify it.
Okay, another student asks, my dad is a veteran. Are there any military benefits available?
So Ohio University is considered a military-friendly school, and so we actually have a veteran representative, somebody that works directly with anybody that's in the military, a student, a child of a military or veteran, and what they would want to do is check with that person. That's Teresa McKenzie here at this campus. So they would check with Teresa, and then she could help them find out if they qualify. And if they do, then she would help them get the process started, get the paperwork and all that thing. So you have somebody like one-on-one helping you, helping advise and everything.
Wow, that's great. If I take out federal direct loans for school, when am I required to pay them?
So those start generally about 6 months after you stop attending college or you graduate, and you will be required to pay those. So that's something you want to be really careful with when taking out student loans.
Do you know if that's like I've always heard it's after 6 months, and that's when you pay? Or
Yep, it's generally right at
that's
right
with
at
a
6
job
months.
or without a job, right?
Yes.
All right. How do I go about becoming a student at OUS?
Well, the first thing that you would do is have to do an application. So you could do the application by stopping in our admissions area. We're open Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5, so you could stop in there. You can also do the application online. So the first thing you would do at any college is you would apply, and then you would have your transcript sent here, and that's how we could make an admit decision. Some other things you could be doing while you're waiting on that admit decision is fill out the FAFSA like we talked about. If you have an ACT score, you probably wouldn't need to do placement testing, but if you haven't had one, you need to do that. So there are some different things that you could do, but it starts with an application. And I would encourage everybody to come and take a campus tour, come and see the campus, come and see if it's a good fit for them, and meet with a program that they're interested in, and check it out.
Yeah, I was about to mention the campus tours and how important that was personally for me when I chose this school.
Yeah. I do. I think, one thing I tell high school students, because, a lot of people have dreams and they're going away, and I think that's great. I think it's great for them to do. But in every view book and on every website, the campuses look fantastic. It's not raining, everybody's under a tree, they're eating their apple, they got their picnic, but, like they're studying and everybody's getting along. You really need to go check out a campus and see what it's like.
Yeah, that's not real life.
Right.
So do you have any stories as far as going out and recruiting that you would like to share?
Goodness, I have probably all kinds of stories. The AK, going to that one is probably one of my, I took some donuts out there, met with them, and just really got to talk to them about the different things, and was able to help them get some extended benefits. So I like those. I like going to the high schools a lot. I actually have college and high school children. I have a senior, and then I also have a college sophomore. And so, like when I go out and I see them, I can tell, I know things that we've been through, and so I get to tell them, these are some things that you might want to watch for, or these are some different opportunities. So I've really enjoyed.
Do you do any events with middle school age children, or?
Yeah, we do.
What's the lowest you go? Do you go to grade schools, or?
We have something called the Bobcat car that we take. It's logoed up, and we take it to like a car show at Burlington Elementary. We do that one, but for the most part, we start. Actually, middle schools come here to campus, and they'll do some things. And Ironton, Cold Grove, there's some different ones that have been here to visit us. So it gets them in early, and it's not as scary, I think, that way.
And how big is your area that you cover?
I generally drive no farther than an hour. So I go about an hour away, because I think that's about as far as somebody would drive to school, So I go to South Webster, West Portsmouth, West Carter, so kind of in Huntington, so like you're making a radius around here about an hour.
And if you could give me about a quick 30-second statement on why someone should come here to OUS.
Oh my goodness.
Are you available to do that?
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like I put you on the spot the whole time.
That's okay. So I think obviously we're a great option. We're a great place to start. And I was a life that was changed. I was somebody that I was out of school 22 years, went back to school, and it does mean a lot to me. I think it makes the opportunities out there increase for you. It raises the ceiling a little bit, just having the degree. I think we're a great opportunity for that. We have something called the Ohio Guarantee, so we guarantee that your tuition won't go up for 4 years once you start. Wow. There's a lot of things that are involved. Can't do it in 30 seconds, but they stop by and see me, I can tell them all about it.
Well, unfortunately, we're about to run out of time.
All right.
And Aretha, it was great to have you on.
Thank you.
And
I appreciate you.
That will be all for today's OUS Today, and we'll see you next time.